morning, Cerritos, California. My name is Rachel Peregrine.
And I'm Justin Saldana. Today's top story is eating disorders. It has been reported in 2011 that 20 million women and 10 million men have suffered an eating disorder once in their lifetime. The two most commonly reported disorders are anorexia nervosa and bulimia nervosa.
Today we'll be taking an in-depth look on both of these disorders. Also known as ANA, anorexia nervosa has become one of the most commonly diagnosed body image disorders. Anorexia is a disorder that is characterized by a high fear of gaining weight, followed by image disorders and irregular diet and exercise habits. It is reported that in the United States, approximately 0.6% of the population suffers from anorexia nervosa, including 0.9% of women and 0.3% of men and 0.3% of teenagers. In extreme cases, it is very easy to identify a person with this disorder, as they will appear to be extremely underweight, have thin hair, dry skin, and will appear to be extremely weak and brittle. We had the opportunity to speak to a patient that has suffered from anorexia nervosa in the past. Steeman is a former anorexia nervosa patient. He reported that at his lowest weight of 80 pounds, he was once on the brink of death. They have agreed to share their traumatizing story with us. What made you start to obtain this disorder?
Well, for me growing up, I was always overweight. I always struggled to go on a diet, maintain an exercise routine, and my weight was just way too high. You know, the media always shoves in your face these pictures of models and movie stars with these perfect physiques and perfect bodies, and it just made me feel incredibly insecure.
What kinds of eating habits did you have when you had this disorder?
I was pretty much basically eating close to nothing. From what I recall, I was eating only a couple pieces of food a day and maybe a piece of tuna or a piece of chicken, and that was pretty much it. My weight started to drop drastically, and at one point, I was at the weight my body should be, but I didn't stop there. I starved myself to the point where I could have actually died.
Did you ever notice the physical changes that were happening to your body at this time?
Surprisingly, no. Even though my body image changed drastically, I always saw myself as overweight. This is one of the most deadliest symptoms of anorexia because you can never see the damage being done to your body.
What other kinds of behavior did you participate in?
I intensely exercised multiple times in a day, and I would never eat afterwards. Instead of replenishing my body with nutrients, I let my body wear away to nothing.
How did you realize that you finally needed help?
I started noticing weird things about my body. Even though I saw myself as fat, I would feel extremely weak. I would never be able to think straight, my hair started falling out, and one day I fainted and I was unconscious. My parents brought me to the hospital, and I was finally diagnosed and given treatment.
What kind of treatment did you receive?
Well, I was brought to the hospital at first, and then they had to stabilize me and get me conscious once again. They assigned me a dietitian and nutritionist, and they helped me regulate eating habits and helped me get back to a regular weight. Also, I saw a therapist who helps me control my image disorder and helps me control the negative thoughts and feelings I have that could trigger my anorexia to come back. Now I have been dieting and exercising correctly for almost 2 years, and I feel like I'm the healthiest I've ever been in my life.
Do you have any advice for people struggling with this disorder?
All I can say is that if you are someone who is struggling to lose weight and has anorexia, the first step is to admit that you have this problem to someone you are comfortable with. Find someone to talk to, whether it's your parents, your friends, or even an anorexia hotline to finally seek help. Find a doctor, a therapist, or someone you can talk to help fight this disorder.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for that story, Rachel. Now let's take a look at another common type of eating disorder called bulimia nervosa. Bulimia is an eating disorder characterized by the process of binge eating and purging. Binge eating is defined as a consumption of a large amount of food in a short amount of time. After a binge, a bulimic endures the process of purging, in which they go through self-induced vomiting, laxative use, fasting, or excessive exercise. It is reported that 0.3% of American adults develop bulimia sometime in their life, including 1.5% of women, 0.5% of men, and 0.9% of teenagers. I had the opportunity to speak to a former bulimic and had them share their story. This is Margaret. She is a former bulimic for almost 3 years, and she has agreed to share her traumatizing story with us. So, when and why did you feel the need to adapt to these eating habits?
Well, for starters, I've never been comfortable with my body. I would look at these pictures of all these different celebrities and long to look just like them, to be pretty as them. Everyone loves a skinny waist and a flat stomach. I, on the other hand, wasn't skinny enough, or that's what I believed. Everyone around me told me how beautiful I was, how amazing my body always looked. Of course, I didn't believe them. I wanted to look like them. I tried dieting at first, but the results weren't quick enough, so I moved on to faster methods. After every meal I had, I would throw back up whatever I just ate so the calories wouldn't count. It was a draining process.
You said you threw up after every meal. Can you tell us more about that process?
After I would finish eating a meal, I would excuse myself to go to the bathroom. There, I would force myself to gag, throw up, and continue on with my life. I've done it so many times I don't even have to think about it. I just throw up after every type of food that enters my body. The results were really fast.
After all that throwing up, there had to be some physical damages to this disorder. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I would have sores on my hands and knuckles from them scraping my teeth whenever I forced myself to throw up. Also, my teeth and gums are still damaged from all the stomach acid that touched them whenever I would throw up. I was also always tired because I wasn't getting energy from the food I was eating. And it was only worse since I was exercising all the time.
Were there any physiological problems you had during and after you were bulimic?
I still struggle a bit from being a former bulimic. I would catch myself having thoughts of being skinnier or thinking I was overweight. The thoughts are hard to lose since they were what I really believed in. Although I am confident with my body now and know that I am beautiful with whatever weight I am, I still struggle with being a former bulimic every day. It is still hard to eat sometimes. My body doesn't always accept the food. During recovery, I would only eat a little because my body could tolerate anything that stayed in my stomach.
When did you realize that you needed help with this disorder?
It took me a long while before I realized that I had a problem and what I was doing was not right. I was sick and tired of throwing up and feeling drained all the time. I finally decided that enough was enough and I asked for help. I reached out to my local support group for people suffering from anorexia and bulimia. The recovery process was slow going, but seeing all the people that were suffering just like I was going through this together was a big help. Together we slowly began eating again and believing that our bodies are beautiful, because they are.
Is there anything you would say to anyone suffering with this disorder?
I would tell them that they are beautiful and wonderful and unique. I strive to be like the models I saw on TV. I wanted to be skinny, I wanted a thigh gap, I wanted a flat stomach, but I realized that I was trying to be just like them, but really it should just be me. Every girl and boy out there is beautiful in their own way. It doesn't matter if you're a size 1 or a size 12. You're beautiful. You're special and wonderful and amazing and perfect just the way you are.
Those are some wise words indeed. Thank you very much for that story.
Thank you very much for that story, Justin. If you or anyone you know suffers from anorexia or bulimia, please contact help at 844-332-8676.
And that's all the time we have for today.
Thank you for watching Channel Zero News.
Next week, we'll be taking a look at obesity levels in America.